French Connection, The Conversation, Superman. Gene Hackman has died at the age of 95.
That was a news headline that would shake the world. The unexpected and mysterious deaths of legendary actor Gene Hackman and his wife, Betsy Arakawa, were already sending shockwaves through Hollywood and beyond. But what investigators discovered beneath their estate turned this into something far more than a tragic loss. Before we start, smash the like and subscribe buttons for more updates. The tunnels ran deep, hidden for decades beneath the sprawling property. No one had known about them. Not the neighbors, not the house staff, not even the closest friends of the couple. It was as though they had never existed, an enigma buried beneath the earth, waiting for its discovery. What lay beneath the estate was more than just a relic of the past. It was something that would leave even the most hardened investigators at a loss for words. Authorities were initially hesitant to make the information public, citing the sensitivity of the case. What could be so shocking that even law enforcement struggled to comprehend it? Speculation ran wild. Was it a hidden stash of long-lost Hollywood secrets? Evidence of a crime buried deep in the past? Something even more sinister? The answers proved to be far stranger than anything anyone had imagined. The tunnels weren't just old passageways. These were elaborate, almost labyrinthine in design, snaking beneath the estate in a way that suggested intentionality. They weren't makeshift hideouts or forgotten relics. They had been carefully crafted, as if they had a purpose beyond mere concealment. Some passages led to empty chambers, their walls lined with strange markings, their purpose unclear. Others led to rooms that had long been sealed, locked away as if to keep something hidden rather than merely abandoned. What investigators found in one particular chamber was beyond comprehension. There were artifacts that didn't seem to belong in any known historical context, strange devices that seemed impossibly advanced for their apparent age. Time itself seemed to unravel within the tunnels. There were items that shouldn't have existed together in one place, relics from vastly different eras. Some were unmistakably ancient, others disturbingly modern, yet coated in layers of dust that suggested they had been there for centuries. And then there were the documents. Stacks upon stacks of handwritten notes, yellowed with age yet meticulously preserved. Some were in languages that scholars struggled to identify, while others contained cryptic symbols and diagrams that hinted at knowledge beyond conventional understanding. It wasn't just the discovery of an underground network, it was the discovery of something that should never have been buried in the first place. The deeper they ventured, the more unsettling the revelations became. One room in particular stood apart from the rest. Its walls were lined with photographs, images of people that spanned decades, if not centuries. Some were recognizable historical figures, others completely unknown. But there was one chilling connection between them all. They all bore a striking resemblance to Hackman himself. The implications were staggering. Was this a case of ancestry lost to time, or something even more inexplicable? But there was something else. The technology found in the tunnels defied logic. Certain artifacts pulsed with a faint glow despite their apparent age, while others seemed to react to human presence. What were they? Who had placed them there? And most disturbingly, why were they hidden beneath Gene Hackman's estate? Some speculated that Hackman had known about the tunnels all along. Was he their creator, their guardian, or merely their accidental inhabitant? Others suggested that he had been drawn to the estate for reasons even he had not fully understood, that something had compelled him to live above this hidden world. There were whispers of secret societies, of knowledge passed down through generations, of things best left forgotten. And then there was the question of Hackman's and Arakawa's deaths. The couple had seemed in good health, their passing sudden and unexplained. Was it merely coincidence, or had their deaths been orchestrated? Had they discovered something they weren't meant to see? Had someone or something ensured their silence? The media frenzy that followed was unprecedented. Conspiracy theorists pounced on the discovery, weaving intricate narratives that spanned everything from time travel to extraterrestrial involvement. Historians clamored to access the tunnels, desperate to make sense of what had been found. Scientists were at a loss, unable to explain the anomalies that had surfaced in their research. Every expert who entered those tunnels emerged with more questions than answers. But one thing was certain. Whatever lay beneath Gene Hackman's estate was never meant to see the light of day. The tunnels had remained hidden for a reason, and now that they had been exposed, there was no turning back. What had started as an investigation into a Hollywood legend's untimely passing had become something far greater. The world had changed overnight, and the implications of that discovery were only just beginning to unfold. As investigators continued their exploration of the tunnels, the true scale of what lay beneath Gene Hackman's estate became more apparent. The sheer complexity of the underground structure suggested that it had been built over a long period, possibly even centuries. Yet there were no records of any construction, no signs in the property's history that hinted at what lay below. How had something so vast, so meticulously designed, remained hidden for so long? And more importantly, who had built it? Further down the tunnels, another discovery left the investigation team reeling. A large dome-like chamber lay at the deepest point of the network, its ceiling so high it vanished into darkness. This chamber was unlike the others. While previous rooms had contained artifacts, papers, and personal effects, this one felt deliberately constructed for a singular purpose. In its center stood an enormous stone structure, an altar-like monolith covered in carvings that had not yet been deciphered. The material was unlike anything known, dark, almost obsidian-like, but with a strange metallic sheen when light passed over it. Even more unsettling was what surrounded it. Rows upon rows of chairs, arranged in a perfect circle around the stone. It was as if someone, or something, had once gathered here in ritualistic assembly. The air in this chamber was different from the rest of the tunnels, thicker, heavier. Some of the investigators reported a strange humming noise, though no equipment picked up any sound. Others felt an inexplicable pressure in their chests, as if the very room was pushing against them. Something about this place defied natural law, bending reality in ways that the human mind struggled to comprehend. At the far end of the chamber, another entrance was discovered, leading to a long, narrow hallway. Unlike the other passages, this one was reinforced with iron, massive rust-covered plates bolted into the stone. Whatever was on the other side had been sealed away with a level of caution that suggested it was never meant to be opened. But with curiosity outweighing caution, the team pressed forward, prying open the corroded locks. Behind the door, the tunnel changed drastically. It was no longer stone and earth, but polished artificial walls, metallic, smooth, unlike anything else found in the estate. It was as if they had crossed into something far older, yet strangely futuristic at the same time. And that's when they found it. A massive vault-like door, its surface inscribed with markings that resembled both ancient scripts and mathematical formulas far beyond modern comprehension. It took hours to breach the entrance. When they finally did, what lay beyond shattered everything they thought they knew. The room was filled with machines, towering devices covered in dials, gears, and screens that flickered with unreadable data. Some of the devices seemed designed for observation, their curved surfaces resembling ancient mirrors but displaying images that seemed to shift in real time. They showed places that were impossible, landscapes that didn't exist on Earth, skies of unfamiliar colors, structures that defied physics. Was this surveillance, or was it something more? Then came the most chilling discovery of all. At the center of the room was a chair, massive, intricate, covered in strange wiring that seemed to pulse faintly. Unlike the other artifacts, this was unmistakably built for a human form. Restraints lined the armrests, and on the ground beneath it, indentations suggested that something or someone had been here recently. The implications were horrifying. Had Hackman known about this? Had he used it? Was this room part of a secret history that had been deliberately erased? Or had he been a prisoner of something far greater than himself? Further examination of the chamber revealed personal belongings scattered across the floor. A pair of old reading glasses, a watch that had long since stopped ticking, and most disturbingly, a collection of handwritten notes. The papers, some of them written in Hackman's unmistakable scrawl, suggested he had spent time here. Perhaps against his will, perhaps voluntarily. Some of the notes made sense. Musings about time, space, and the nature of existence. Others were pure madness, frantic scribbles that spoke of shadows that watched from beyond the walls, of voices that whispered in the dark, of a presence lurking just beyond perception. And then, at the very bottom of the pile, one note stood out, It was dated the very day before his death. They are here. I see them when I close my eyes. I hear them in the walls. I was never supposed to remember, but I do. And now, they will come for me. The words sent a shiver through those who read them. What had Hackman remembered? What had he seen? And most terrifyingly, who were they? The investigation, which had begun as a routine inquiry into the deaths of Hackman and his wife, had transformed into something no one was prepared to handle. Authorities attempted to keep the findings under wraps, but rumors spread quickly. Leaks from within the investigation team led to wild theories. Some claiming that Hackman had been part of a secret experiment, others suggesting that he had uncovered something beyond human comprehension. Theories of time travel, extraterrestrial contact, and forbidden knowledge ran rampant. Some even believed that the tunnels were not built by man at all, but by something far older. Something that had once walked the earth and had left its mark beneath Hackman's home. Yet there was one more discovery, one final revelation that pushed the entire case into the realm of true nightmare. Deep in one of the unexplored sections of the tunnels, another room was found. It was smaller than the others, less grand, almost crude in its design. But what lay inside changed everything. Bones, hundreds of them, skulls stacked in careful arrangements, femurs placed with meticulous precision. Some belonged to animals, but many, too many, were unmistakably human. The remains were ancient, some dating back centuries, others shockingly recent. Among them, something even worse, a pile of personal effects, some of which were identified as belonging to people who had vanished without a trace in the past few decades. Had Hackman known? Had he been a part of something far darker than anyone had realized? Or had he too been a victim, trapped in a horror he could never escape? The estate was sealed off indefinitely. Scientists, historians, and government officials flooded the property, desperate to make sense of what had been uncovered. But there were no answers. Only more questions, more impossibilities, more unsettling truths that refused to fit within the boundaries of known history. And then something even stranger happened. Just as the world was beginning to demand answers, the case was abruptly shut down. The tunnels were sealed, the investigation disbanded, and all involved were sworn to silence. Public records regarding the estate's excavation disappeared overnight. News outlets that had once been hungry for details suddenly fell silent, as if they had never reported on it in the first place. The official statement? Hackman and his wife had died of natural causes. The tunnels were dismissed as old mining shafts, their artifacts deemed hoaxes. But those who had been there, those who had seen what lay beneath the estate, knew better. Something had been found under Gene Hackman's home. Something that should never have been uncovered. And something, had ensured that it would remain hidden. Perhaps Hackman had tried to warn the world. Perhaps he had spent his final days knowing that his fate was sealed. Or perhaps, just perhaps, whatever he had uncovered had merely been waiting to be found again. Even as the official narrative sought to erase the discoveries beneath Gene Hackman's estate, those who had stepped into the tunnels knew that what had been found could never truly be buried again. The images burned into their minds. The strange, impossible artifacts. The ominous chamber of seats. The mechanical room humming with unknowable energy remained with them long after the world was told to forget. Some of the investigators, unwilling to let the truth die, attempted to speak out. Anonymous reports surfaced on obscure corners of the internet, filled with frantic accounts of things that could not be explained. They spoke of sensations they could not shake, the feeling that they were being watched long after leaving the site, of strange figures appearing in their peripheral vision, of bizarre malfunctions in their electronics that seemed to defy all logic. Some reported waking in the middle of the night with the unshakable certainty that someone had been in their rooms, only for there to be no evidence of intrusion. One of the lead researchers, a specialist in ancient languages who had been tasked with deciphering the strange symbols, went missing under baffling circumstances. His colleagues reported that he had become obsessed with one particular set of inscriptions, ones that had been found on the monolithic altar in the deep chamber. He had pored over them relentlessly, claiming that they held a warning, though he never revealed what it was. One night, he left his home and was never seen again. His apartment was found in disarray, papers strewn everywhere, his computer smashed to pieces. The only clue left behind was a hastily scribbled note, almost unreadable. "It's awake!" His disappearance, like the discoveries beneath the estate, was quietly brushed aside. No official investigation was launched, and those who pressed for answers found themselves met with silence, or worse, direct threats. But even without confirmation, those who had glimpsed the truth understood. Something beneath that estate had not been meant to see the light of day. And now, it was out. Rumors spread among secret circles of researchers and rogue historians, drawing comparisons to other anomalies throughout history. Unexplained ruins that appeared in places where they should not be. Cryptic texts describing events and figures that did not align with known timelines. Whispered stories of people who had stumbled upon things beyond comprehension only to vanish without a trace. Some began to suspect that the tunnels beneath Hackman's home were not an isolated phenomenon, but part of something far older, far grander, a pattern hidden within human history, erased and rewritten time and time again. What was it about this particular place that had drawn Hackman there? Had he been chosen? Or had he, like so many before him, simply found himself at the wrong place at the wrong time, trapped in a web of events that had been unfolding for centuries? Some even wondered if Hackman himself had been more than he appeared. The photographs found in the tunnels, those eerie images of people who bore an uncanny resemblance to him, stretching across centuries, suggested something far more disturbing. Was it possible that he had lived before? That he had existed across multiple eras, unaware of his own past until something in those tunnels had awakened the knowledge buried deep within his subconscious? Others theorized that his career, his fame, had been no accident. That something or someone had guided him into the spotlight, ensuring he remained in the public eye until the right moment came. Had he been a messenger? A guardian of secrets too dangerous for the world to know? Or had he simply been another pawn in a game far beyond human comprehension? And then there were the more unsettling theories. The ones that spoke not just of time, but of something far more insidious. Some researchers suggested that Hackman's estate had been built atop something ancient, something buried long before recorded history. They pointed to the strange metallic structures beneath the tunnels, to the technology that defied all known timelines. What if those tunnels had not been built by human hands? What if they had been waiting for someone, anyone, to stumble upon them, to awaken something that had long been dormant? Had Hackman been its final key? In the weeks following the official closure of the investigation, a string of bizarre incidents occurred near the estate. Reports of strange lights flickering in the woods surrounding the property, unexplained power surges in the nearby town, disturbing accounts from those who had been near the tunnels, claiming to have heard voices whispering from deep underground. Voices speaking in languages no living human should know. And then, just as suddenly as it had begun, it stopped. The estate was sold to an undisclosed buyer, the property sealed off from the public. No records existed of the sale. No new owner ever moved in. It was as if the land itself had been erased. But those who had seen the tunnels, those who had glimpsed the impossible, knew that the truth could never be buried. Something had been discovered beneath that estate. Something older than human history. Older than time itself. And whatever it was still there. Even as the world moved on, whispers of what had been found beneath Gene Hackman's estate persisted in the shadows. Those who had touched the truth, investigators, researchers, and even the few locals who had caught wind of the events, could not forget. Something beneath that estate had defied history, time, and even reality itself. And though the world had been forced to look away, the presence that lurked in those tunnels had not disappeared. Years later, strange occurrences continued to surface. Satellite imaging occasionally picked up heat signatures beneath the property, despite the estate remaining officially abandoned. Scientists who had briefly worked on the case vanished from public life, some resigning from their fields entirely. Even those who had never stepped foot in the tunnels felt an inexplicable pull toward the mystery, as if something in the buried chambers was reaching outward, seeking to be remembered. Perhaps the discovery had not been an accident. Perhaps the tunnels had been waiting for someone like Hackman, waiting for the moment when their secrets would finally be unearthed. But one question remained unanswered. Had humanity glimpsed something it was never meant to see? Or had something beneath the earth finally turned its gaze upward? If you like this video, please give it a like and subscribe to our channel. Also, leave your comments below and tell us, what are your thoughts on the tunnels under Gene Hackman's estate? We want to hear from you. Thank you for watching and see you next time.